Hi, I'm Ayo, and I'm a private chef, but more importantly than that, I love lasagna. There's meat, there's cheese, pasta, what's not to like? You're used to seeing me on Dollar Dish and being forced to cook things with no budget whatsoever. But today, Tasty has let go of the reins, and I get to make 3 kinds of lasagna. One that takes 6 minutes, one that takes 60 minutes, and one that's going to take me 6 hours. I got a budget, y'all. All right, so let's get into it. So this is our 6-minute microwave lasagna. Not gonna lie, I had a lot of attitude about this girl. Not really into the whole mug cooking thing, but if you are a lasagna head like me and you just need your fix in a pinch, this is the way to go. So for our first step, we're gonna use these oven-ready lasagna sheets. Basically, what you wanna do is break your lasagna into pieces that will fit into whatever mug you're using. So for my mug, I'm gonna break my little halves into more halves, and maybe one more half. So I'm just gonna continue breaking up my pasta. So then I'm gonna add them to this microwave safe bowl, and I'm gonna cover them in about 1.5 cups of water and cook them for 3 minutes. And you wanna make sure you cover your noodles completely. Now I'm gonna go put these in the microwave for 3 minutes. Now I'm gonna strain them. You should be really careful because the bowl's probably like very hot. So for our next step, we're just gonna make a really quick ricotta filling. So I'm gonna add my spinach to my ricotta. So I'm just gonna give this a quick stir. And now all we have to do is assemble. So first we have a tablespoon of marinara. I'll spread it around. I have my microwave noodles. And I just wanna create like as even a layer as possible. So you can get a little bit of noodle in every bite. And then our ricotta mixture, you just spread it around. So now it's time to add our cheese. I'm really into the Italian blend because it's a lot of bang for your buck. There's a lot of different cheeses. There's Romano, there's Parmesan, there's some mozzarella, a little bit of everything in one bite. And then we just keep on layering. Marinara, noodle, ricotta, cheese. Marinara, noodle, ricotta, surprise, cheese. It's kind of like singing Hakuna Matata, right? Marinara, pasta, ricotta, cheese. And we definitely want to end on cheese because we want the top of this to be like super ooey gooey. So obviously this is probably gonna take you more than 6 minutes to put it together, but it takes 6 minutes to cook. So now I'm gonna take this to the microwave for 3 more minutes. So it's been microwaved, and I'm not gonna lie, it smells pretty good. I'm a little surprised. So I'm gonna tear up some pieces of fresh basil and just put them right on the top. A little color, a little herb. I really like basil. So then I'm also going to add more cheese, because what does lasagna always need? More cheese. And then finally, I'm gonna add a little bit of dried basil across the top. And this is totally optional, but y'all know I like color, so this is just me being extra. Time to taste it. Cheese pull. It's actually pretty good. It is really shocking how tender those noodles get in 6 minutes. It's cheesy. You taste it, you would not think it's anything else. This is lasagna. And it's good, 6 minutes. Who knew? So now we're getting into our 60-minute lasagna. We're gonna make roll-ups because they're super cute, they're really tasty, and they're also individually portioned. So basically we wanna be able to get a hearty meal on the table very quickly. Also, our roll-ups are gonna cook a lot faster than the traditional layering method. So we're gonna add our onions to a hot pan with a little bit of olive oil and just cook them until they're softened, about 5 to 6 minutes. So after my onions have softened, I'm just gonna add my fresh thyme, and I'm gonna add my minced garlic. And I'm just gonna cook them until fragrant, about 1 minute. I can smell them. So now I'm going to add my sausage. So when you add your sausage, you wanna make sure you break it up into very small pieces for your sauce. I use Italian sausage because even though we're making a little bit faster, I wanted to keep it as close to tradition as possible. Okay, so our sausage is cooked. So now I'm gonna add our jar of marinara sauce. And if you really wanna create, a good depth of flavor in a short amount of time, you wanna really invest in a good jar of marinara sauce. I'm just gonna let this simmer for about 5 minutes. So now it's probably the easiest step of our whole process, which is just make your noodles. I'm going to add a little bit of salt to my boiling pasta water. You wanna have this water at a rolling boil and get your noodles done as fast as possible. You also wanna cook them about 2 minutes less than the package directions because we're also gonna put them in the oven. I know a lot of you are about to be upset with me. Brace yourselves. I am going to add olive oil to the pot. I'm aware that this is a cardinal sin, but because we're doing roll-ups, it's just necessary to break some rules. We do not want the lasagna noodles to stick together as we roll them up. Okay, so our noodles are looking good. And I'm just going to strain them over a bowl or over your sink. If you're at home, over your sink. For those of you who are freaking out about the oil in the pot, prepare to be upset again. We are making a more Americanized version of lasagna this time, so we're using ricotta for our filling. I'm going to be adding spinach, mozzarella, parmesan, basil, parsley, and egg yolks. The egg yolks are to bind our filling together, so when we roll it up and put it in the oven, everything holds together. So the ricotta filling is actually my personal favorite, which I'm sure right about now the other chefs in the community are like, what? I prefer ricotta to the bechamel because I like the texture it gives it. It feels like a heartier filling. All right. And now we are just going to mix it up, and then I'm gonna season it up just a little. I'm gonna add a little bit of pepper. Yeah. Our filling's done and we have our casserole dish. So now I'm gonna add about a cup of the sauce to cover the bottom of our casserole pan. You just want to get a thin layer at the bottom to prevent our noodles from sticking. So now it's time for the fun part. I'm gonna add about a half cup of the ricotta filling to each of my lasagna noodles. I feel like there's no real special way to do this. You know, you just can't be shy, you just get in there. So I'm gonna use this offset spatula just to smooth it out a little. One tip I do have for this process is when you're filling it with your ricotta filling, I leave just a little lip at the end, so when I close up my lasagna roll-up, it fits tight to the last part. Also, as we roll our noodles, it's gonna push the filling forward a little bit, so you're just giving yourself a little bit of extra room to catch that extra filling. Oh my God, so cute. So this is what you're looking for. You want there to be filling, you want it to be visible, but you don't want it leaking out of your noodle. And now I'm just gonna set it in my pan. So I'm just gonna repeat this process 7 more times. Now we're gonna top it with some sauce and some more cheese. And for aesthetic purposes, I'm really big on going across the top of them. So now I'm gonna top my roll-ups with obviously more cheese. My favorite part of lasagna is definitely the cheese. You would think it would be the pasta because, you know, Southern girls, Southern carbs, but no. I love grated Parmesan cheese. It's like happy little snowfall. All right, so these look great. I'm gonna go put these in the oven at 400 degrees for 20 minutes. Okay, so our lasagna rolls are out of the oven and this smells incredible. And now it's time. This is good. It is really easy. It's definitely something my mom could make. Y'all know Vera can't cook. So that is a testament to how simple this is. If you book me, the next lasagna is what you would get. Something that takes time, something that has multiple layers of flavor. So stick around for the 6-hour lasagna. So this lasagna has all the traditional flavors. We're gonna make it a little extra. We're gonna do 10 layers because if you're gonna spend 6 hours making it, why not make it epic, right? So our first step is gonna be adding a little olive oil to our pan, and we're gonna cook our pancetta. And this is going to be the beginning of our bolognese. When you're rendering the pancetta, which is just fancy thick cut bacon, you really wanna make sure you get it nice and crispy and get all of the fat out of it. And then we're gonna cook all of our veggies in that fat. So this is the first step in really layering that depth of flavor. All right, so my pancetta is nice and crisp. Look at that golden brown deliciousness. I'm gonna remove the pancetta from the pan while we cook our mirepoix. Basically, you wanna take the meat out so it doesn't keep cooking and get too crispy. You still want all the fat and flavor that it left in the bottom of the pan. So now I'm going to add my onions, carrots, celery, which are the 3 components of a mirepoix. I'm gonna add my thyme and my garlic, and we're just gonna cook these for a little while and coat them in all that fat. And I'm just gonna saute these until soft. Next step is adding our proteins. A big thing for me when doing Italian food is to make sure you have the right ratio of like meatiness to fat. So we are using a 1/2 pound of ground pork and a 1/2 pound of ground beef. I feel like pork has more flavor and is very fatty, and then beef is very meaty. So the pork and the beef mixed together just gives you the best of both worlds. So we're just looking for this to get brown and give us those good crusty bits on the bottom of the pan. So now our meat has browned and it's time to deglaze. The point of deglazing is just to get anything that may have been left over around the pan, and basically you're just gonna add about a cup of wine Once it has reduced by about half, you won't smell the liquor anymore. And you wanna make sure when you're deglazing, you're scraping up like any brown bits on the side. I believe in French it's called the fond, and you just wanna get it into your sauce. Every little bit of flavor helps. So now we're gonna move on to the tomatoes. This is actually a trick I learned from an Italian chef that I used to work with. Basically giving you the feel of like real slow cooked crushed tomatoes, but from a can. So basically what you wanna do is take your whole peeled tomato and just squish it in your hand. Just really get in there. Love it. And that's it. And basically it creates like a chunkier version of the typical crushed tomato sauce. That's my last one. And we have this beautiful chunky tomato sauce. Now I'm gonna add them to my meat mixture. The wine has reduced and it looks ready to go. I'm just gonna mix these in. And then I am going to add 1 cup milk and 1 cup chicken stock. And as this reduces, your chicken stock is gonna develop this really rich flavor. So we're gonna let this go low and slow and really come together over the course of the next 3 hours. So let's leave this and begin working on our pasta noodles. Okay, so now we're gonna add our flour to the mixing bowl. And I'm gonna add my salt. And basically, we're just gonna turn the mixer on for like 10 seconds to incorporate the salt and the flour. And now I'm gonna add my eggs. And we're gonna let this go for about 5 minutes until it gets smooth and elastic. Okay, this pasta is done. So I'm gonna wrap this in plastic and let it rest for about an hour. Okay, my pasta's done, she's rested, and now I'm gonna cut this dough ball into 6 pieces and roll them through our pasta extruder. And what you wanna do is start on your widest setting and just keep processing it through until you get to either your smallest or second smallest setting. What you want is some paper thin sheets of pasta. I will say the thinner it gets, the more gentle you kind of need to be with it. Okay, so this one's looking really good. I'm gonna repeat this process about 6 more times, and then I'm gonna just very quickly cook these in boiling water, and then we'll move on to our bechamel. A bechamel is actually one of the mother sauces. It's one of the first things you learn in culinary school, and what it is a really good milky base to carry on a lot of other flavors, mostly cheese. And when you add cheese to it, it's actually called a Mornay sauce. So the first thing we are going to do to get our bechamel sauce together is melt this butter. And I'm gonna whisk in this flour. I just wanna cook this enough to get that raw flour taste out of it, about 3 or 4 minutes. Now we're gonna add our milk. The reason you want your milk to be room temperature is because when it's cold, there's more chances for your roux to get chunky. Because we want like a nice creamy sauce. Nobody wants a mouthful of like flour and butter. And I'm just gonna let this go until it starts to thicken up. You don't wanna rush this process because you do not want to scald the milk. Scalding the milk means you cook it on too high and it burns at the bottom, and there's no fixing that. I'm also gonna add some fresh nutmeg to this. Any sauce I make with like a milk base or a significant amount of cheese, I always give it a pinch of nutmeg for extra flavor. So we're almost there, but we want this to be pretty thick because remember, we being extra. So we're doing 10 layers. So it needs to be thick enough to sustain those layers, you know? So you wanna get to almost a pudding-like consistency. It needs to be pretty thick. Okay, this is looking good. And now it is time to build this epic 10-layer lasagna. So the first thing we're gonna do is add some sauce to the bottom of our pan. We're just gonna do 1 even layer across the bottom. And after our sauce, we're going to add our noodles. Remember, we made these ourselves, so it's okay if the noodles go up the size of your pan a little. Or you can cut them. On top of our noodles, we're gonna do another layer of sauce with some Parmesan. I'm just gonna give it a nice sprinkle, some of that cheese in there. And now we're gonna add another layer of noodles. And after this layer of noodle, I'm gonna add in my bechamel. The sauce came out amazing. And now I'm gonna add my mozzarella cheese. And then we're gonna do another layer of noodles. So now we're just gonna repeat this process 4 more times. All right, and last but not least, we are going to top this beauty with fresh mozzarella. It does not get more Italian and more extra than fresh mozzarella. This is probably my favorite part. I'm also gonna add just a little bit more Parmesan cheese. I really want the top to be like cheesy and gooey and melty, and I'm just gonna cover it in a layer of white. All right, I'm gonna put this lasagna in the oven at 350 degrees for 1 hour. Cover it for the first 30 minutes and then uncover it for the last 30 minutes because I really want the cheese to get brown. Let's do it. All right, this looks good. And I am what? Say it with me, so excited because this is my personal favorite part. I'm going to just tear some pieces of fresh basil and use them as our garnish. This thing smells amazing. It smells like 6 hours worth of love and labor. Here we go, the moment of truth. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Look at that. See how being extra pays off? Oh my God. This looks amazing. I mean, I made the recipe, so, you know, let's try it. Oh my God. This was so worth 6 hours. You get so much more like oomph than the other two. You taste all the work you put into the bechamel, a little bit of nutmeg, that little secret nuttiness. There's so much flavor in the sauce. This one is definitely my favorite, but you know, I like a little extra. So today we made a 6-minute, a 60-minute, and a 6-hour lasagna. So whether you're just cooking a little meal for one or feeding a crowd, you always have time for lasagna. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. Please encourage Tasty to give me more things with a budget, and I will see you next time.